All right, let's see how this goes. So, quick housekeeping stuff. One of my friends was the co-manager was just like, "Hey, you already do this for free. You might as well just go on YouTube and just talk out loud." So, trying to work this out for the first time. I have a whole bunch of notes. We're gonna go over it. All I gotta say is I watch the same channels you do, and I read the same articles you guys do. Sometimes I draw different conclusions because sometimes you have to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing so you can win your fantasy football. Like told my co-manager that I can guarantee he'll make playoffs every year, or I can say that he's got a good chance to win a championship, and they're probably not going to have the same outcome. If he wants to win a championship, this is why you do fantasy, especially high stakes fantasies to get the boat. If you just want to make playoffs and get a chance to maybe come in fourth or third, then that's a different conversation. So what this is not going to be who to pick up off of waivers tonight, because you can go to anybody else and they'll tell you what's obvious. That's not what this channel's about. This channel's about like fantasy football theory, other stuff that's going on. So how what we're doing right now, we're in the pre bye week phase of fantasy football. That means we're building our rosters. We're trying to fix our holes. We're trying to get as strong a bench as we can to survive the bye weeks. We're doing different things. We're heavily involved with roster churn to get to the point where we can survive the bye week to build our playoff roster. That's kind of the thought process. So the stuff that we're doing at the bottom of our benches, the guys that we're throwing into our lineups are kind of different than we're going to be dealing with later on. Like, you kind of do need to build these juggernaut teams to be able to win your championships, instead of like, I've done the little engine that could teams and they're great. They'll make you in the playoffs. You'll win a lot of games because you won't risk a lot, but that's the thing, you got to risk to be able to win. Again, today, what we're going to be doing is talking more about who we're going to be picking up after waivers clear, and trying to predict who's going to be the number one guys next week, because I've already talked about the top guys that are on waiver, or a lot of the top guys that are on waivers this week. So to start off, for you guys that are in like heavy quarterback leagues, and to bury the lead, because I just clicked over, the main guy that I'm going to be picking up this week is Tyjae Spears, and we'll get to talking about him in a little bit. But this is the guy, because this guy is probably going to be relatively cheap, if not just clear waivers entirely. He outsnapped Derrick Henry. He started the game. They got him the football. There are rumors that if the Titans tank, then Derrick Henry will not be on the Titans. We got an offer in my main money league for Derrick Henry. He's already gone. And my priority is getting Tyjae Spears. So anyway, let's get into it. So let's start off with quarterback. I know you guys don't really care about quarterback. Things to pick up. Matt Stafford, if he's back, he's a top 10 quarterback. The passing volume might be there. He's got weapons. Well, you like it week one. He's a guy that you probably pick up for relatively free if he's still available in your league. The good news with Matt Stafford, if you look at him, he didn't throw any touchdown passes, so he should be relatively cheap to sneak through. Purdy and Pickett are two guys to pick up. They should be relatively safe floors. They're not going to have particularly high ceilings. After Pickett, all the guys I listened to said that the Matt Canada offense in Pittsburgh is still absolute fucking trash. So but Pickett's still good at football. You could put him on you can roll them out there, safe floor. Purdy, you could definitely, if you're stacking him with the 49ers guys, but they're going to be just safe floor guys. They're not going to be necessarily ceiling guys. Mac Jones, the new Bill O'Brien offense against a good Philly D, he threw the ball 54 times, only had one pick, 300 yards. Mac Jones, again, another guy good at football. He's going to be there. He's going to slip through. So if you're in a heavy quarterback league, or you need to slip one through, if you're rolling Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, you're a little bit shaky on some of these other guys. The guys are available. Sam Howell, 1 week starter, got what you got out of him. If he struggled that much against the Cards, he's probably not going to be anything more than a streamer. Jordan Love, again, guy stash. I don't think they'll ever make Jordan Love the centerpiece, but you got to like what you like. And Zach Wilson, if I already did the video, buy the dip because you got to do what everybody else isn't doing right now. If everybody's like saying that the Jets are bad, you should be buying the Jets. Well, I shouldn't say you. I will be buying the Jets because they're going to be relatively cheap. And if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm going to move on really quick. So running back, some housekeeping stuff, more of it. Dameon Pierce. If you have Dameon Pierce, there's no handcuff. It looks like Mike Boone and Devin Singletary were splitting work. Mike Boone's the receiving back. Devin Singletary is the running back. So there's nothing that we have to really worry about there. Moving on to those running back type guys that we're going to talk about if we get into any stats. The Dobbins injury in Baltimore, I don't like any of the guys. They elevated Melvin Gordon. Gus Bus is a downhill guy. Justice Hill may be like the receiving guys. I'm still not even sure what the offense in Baltimore is going to be like. So, like if those guys slip through and you can stash them on the bottom of your bench, you're more than welcome to. Kenneth Gainwell, we all already know about him. Everybody's like, oh, Kenneth Gainwell, number one, blah, 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 whatever. Here's my thoughts. He was only in on 62% of snaps against a good Pats D. He had 4 targets in an offense that we're not expecting running backs to get targets. He wasn't entirely efficient. I'm going to guess Penny is going to be active this week. Penny is not a special teams guy. We'll get into roster construction stuff later on. Like your third or fourth running back has to be able to play special teams. Penny's not. Boston Scott does. The head coach, whatever, Sirianni, whatever, he said that he doesn't want another game where Swift only gets two opportunities. I believe Swift only was in on 22% or 29% of snaps. So if these guys are getting dropped in your league, I will stash them because I'm still waiting to see how it shakes out. But my thought process on how I'm going to deal with Kenneth Gainwell, I'm probably going to put a pretty good bid on him, if for no other reason to block my teammates. I don't want Kenneth Gainwell being used against me if he is a bell cow. But however, I only want to make sure that the bid is substantial enough that the guys in my league have to pay to find out. I don't need a Kenneth Gainwell, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't like to have him as my RB3 on my bench. Obviously, if you need him, the tea leaves say spend. I just, it's tough because this is bad coaching. This is the theory behind football. If they had Rashad Penny, they went up 16-0, and they took a 225-pound back that's fast and good at football and ran him into the middle of an offensive line on inside zone, they wouldn't have been in a position to lose the game in the fourth quarter in bad weather. I'm just going to say that out loud. So, that's bad coaching. If the Eagles want to win football games, you can't have bad coaching at the NFL level. So the other guy is Kyren Williams for the Rams. RB2, I didn't write down his snap share was like 65%. Akers doesn't seem like he's a thing in that offense. Kyren Williams, he's going to be limited. He's like a 4.6 guy. They like him. I don't have his stats if I can't right here. That's why I have the stats pulled up. 15 for 52, 2 touchdowns. Touchdowns can kind of be all wibbly wobbly. I think he almost had a third one. 2 targets. He's supposed to be the receiving back. Obviously he's the lead back right now. I would not be surprised if good old Zach Evans eventually is given an opportunity. Zach Evans is the rookie out of, I think it was Ole Miss. He's like, 6'2", 215, 4'4" guy, all the stuff that we like without the talent that necessarily goes along with it. So again, if I'm missing out on Kyren Williams, I'm stashing Zach Evans because I want to see how this plays out. A lot of these numbers that you're going to hear me saying directly relate to I want to see what they do on the bottom of my bench to see if these new numbers go up. Why are these numbers here? This is why I said I don't watch a lot of football anymore. I watch the highlights to see what was going on, but it's all probability and statistics. And when I talk about snap share, we want snap share, the opportunity to turn into opportunity on the field. So the snap share is going to tell us if there's more opportunity to happen or if guys are being phased out of the offense. So on the bottom of our bench is a good place to find out if those numbers go up or down, right? So again, Kyren Williams is another guy I will be putting in, an okay bid on because running back twos don't grow on trees, and especially if it's a good offense. And the Rams look pretty good against a team that was supposed to be better than them. I already talked about Tyjae Spears. This is the guy this week for me. He snapped Derrick Henry 54-48. I heard he started the game. He had 3 carries for 27 yards, which is good efficiency. He had 4 targets. I don't think he caught any of them. Anyway, this is the guy, because regardless of how everything shakes out, this guy, there's league winner written all over this guy. This should be the priority. If you're going to have to say spend the entire boat or half of your boat on a Kenneth Gainwell, you got to think that like a tenth of your boat is going to land you Tyjae Spears. The guy that you're probably most likely be competing with is a guy who's in the know and he's a Henry owner. So other guys to talk about this week when we look at like Tyler Algier, back from my let's talk about Bijan video. 15 carries. He's the red zone guy. It looks like 3 receptions, 3 targets in an offense that only had 18 attempts. I looked him up. If he's available in any leagues, this guy should be a priority. Maybe even higher than Kenneth Gainwell, because who knows what that Eagles offense still is going to be. We already knew this is what the Falcons offense was going to be, and they just confirmed it. Another guy, it looks like it is going to be like a timeshare in the backfield of the Chargers. Joshua Kelly looked good. I'll go hunt him down right here for you guys if you're wondering. 16 carries, 91 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 target. He was in on 48% of the Chargers snap against Eckler, who was I think 52%. So that's a pretty good indication how this backfield may work out. And if he can do 16 for 91, he has standalone fantasy value. If they like him enough to do 16 for 91 with Eckler, that's a handcuff. So again, like that, because that guy can be RB1 if the tea leaves break the way that they're supposed to break for you. So another guy that should be a priority if you're Miles Sanders owner is Chuba Hubbard. 36% of snaps, but he did 9 carries and 2 targets. And we don't really know what the Carolina offense is going to be. They may be bad, they may be good. They didn't look good to start the season, but we want to see the numbers tick up. If you're Sanders owners, this is the guy that they want, because if they're putting him on the field for 36% of snaps and then they're giving it to him, that's a pretty good indication that if like a guy like Sanders goes down, they're just going to go, hey, here you go. And there wasn't anything else notable about the Carolina backfield. Roshan, I would listen to some of the pundits. I watched the video on it. Roshan looks really good, like retarded good. He just ran somebody over late. Only 39% of snaps late. Who knows what that Bears offense is going to be, because Justin Fields was what we thought Justin Fields was going to be. He's struggling in passing game, but he's probably always going to be locked in some type of timeshare with Khalil Herbert, who also looked pretty good. The issue is if they can fix that Bears offense and there is a receiving back that is getting some of the rushing work, and it's Roshan, and there's an injury. I mean, if you're a Hubbard owner, he should be on your bench. If you're not a Hubbard owner and he clears, he's a deep stash. Tank Bigsby was 21% of snaps. He's definitely the handcuff. It looks like, because Hasty was a healthy scratch. So if you're stashing someone, if you're an Etney owner, ETN Etney, whatever, if you're one of those guys, you're stashing him at the bottom of your bench to see how it shakes out if there's an injury. I didn't write down anything for Sean Tucker, which is really bad because I've already talked about him. I must have skipped it. But anyway, Sean Tucker was eating into Rachaad White's work. Rachaad White wasn't necessarily very good against a bad Minnesota team. This is not necessarily going to win you leagues by any stretch of the imagination, as I'd go try and pull it up for you so I don't look completely worthless. So Sean Tucker did 15 carries for 5 carries for 15 yards. He had 2 targets for 9 yards. I can definitely see he's going to eat into Rachaad White, especially if Rachaad White fails to be efficient. And so if you're a Rachaad White owner, you should have Sean Tucker. Again, depending on your league size, this is a guy you should be stashing at the bottom of your bench. Or, excuse me, I would be stashing at the bottom of my bench. Let's see. What else do we have after him? Jalen Warren was 40% snaps in a San Francisco train wreck that we saw going on. This is definitely a timeshare. So probably am going to be handcuffing that guy if he's available in your league. Zeke was 35% snaps. I don't know if he's a handcuff yet. There's some stuff going on in the Patriots. They only had 2 running backs at one point. And Ramondre was sick. I don't know if you need to be handcuffing him. Zeke did not look particularly good, but they did start the game with him. Like I said, I don't know. Zamir White is definitely the handcuff to Josh Jacobs. He was only on 8% of snaps, but he did have 1 carry and 1 target, and there wasn't really anybody else of any consequence there. Amir Abdullah was doing the pass blocking. Ty Chandler may or may not be a thing. He was 17% of snaps, but again, he had 1 target and 3 carries for 0 yards. So you're stashing him if you're an Alexander Madison owner and you just want to see that snap share go up and the opportunity go up. Jameel McLaughlin for Denver, he had some camp noise. They said that he was going to get touches. He was in it on 8% of snaps. He had 1 catch for negative 7 yards, I believe. But as bad as that Denver offense may be, this is a guy, like if you're really, really, really deep leagues, you put him on the bottom of your bench and you want to see that 8% go up. And then the last guy I talked about, Devin Achane, who I hyped up. He may be a hold. He if he's dropped, he may be a stash. This is the same thing what we talked about with Rashad Penny being a healthy scratch from the Eagles. The Dolphins couldn't run against the worst run defense, the Chargers, last year. This is the same special team stuff. Achane probably can't play special teams. That's why he was a healthy scratch. But when you have Solomon Ahmed and Rasheed Mostert that can't do anything more against a team that's trying to take away Tyreek Hill running all over the field, you got to find something else to do. Achane's still a 3rd round pick. This is something to monitor. On the bottom of your bench, obviously if he's another healthy scratch, there's just no point on having him waste your roster spot. But if he's a guy that if he cycles through and he's available, there are worse lottery tickets to be throwing out there. So we're moving on to wide receiver before we get to Puka. The Chiefs wide receivers, MVS and Sky Moore, were at 63 and 69% of snaps. The rest of the guys were around 30. That's like Rashee Rice and Justin Watson. Justin Ross was like at 8% snaps. That's a deep stash to kind of see if that ticks up as the season progresses. The biggest thing to take away from the train wreck of the Chiefs game is this week with MVS and Sky Moore. If you drop Sky Moore, I understand. If you hold on to him, I understand. He led all of the Chiefs in snaps, and I kind of have an idea of how he would be used out of the slot and out wide with Kelsey. Kelsey wasn't there. I do think there are better days for Sky Moore. I just don't know if he's necessarily going to be a league winner anymore. But to give you an idea, like if we see that snap go down, that's a really bad thing. And then it's time to get rid of him. If we see that snaps go up, obviously we expect to see snaps go up and targets to go up. And since he wasn't good, we can get an idea of that. So just if you get an idea behind that. And so if you're wondering about Rashee Rice and Justin Watson, they're about 30% snaps. I didn't see design plays necessarily going to Rashee Rice. I think I saw some design plays going to Justin Watson. So if there's a stash out of the offense is supposed to be the highest volume passing offense, it looks like it's Justin Watson. Going to the Rams, Rams were really tough for me because it was like everybody says they're supposed to be bad. I don't know what they were going to be. They're like that. Some offenses are going to be good that we thought are bad. Some of the bad ones that we thought are bad are going to be good. This was one of the ones that are really hard to evaluate from a fantasy standpoint because of the fact that who knows what they can be. So anyway, the snap shares for Puka, Tutu, and Jefferson were 78, 79, and 93. Right? Puka was blocking in the Cooper Kupp role. He's not as good a blocker, but they're using him as a blocker, and he's very willing. Reason behind that is because when Kupp comes back, they're not going to take Puka out of the lineup. Tutu and Jefferson are not going to be the blocker, and when you can have that ability to flop the 2 guys that are starting in your lineup back and forth so other teams don't know what you're doing because you will both use them to block in that McVay offense. That's a good thing. So we're looking at Tutu and Jefferson probably being the guys that are going to be on the outside looking in at that point when Cooper Kupp comes back, because the idea behind Puka was he was always going to take over the Robert Woods role, and now Puka and Kupp may be interchangeable, especially from a blocking standpoint. That's good to go. if you haven't already got Puka, he's probably worth spending on. I would guess that like you can expect wide receiver 2 the rest of the way. It's not a bad thing, especially if Stafford's back. He's definitely the number 1. I don't need to tell you that. You can go anyplace else and get that. Jefferson and Tutu. Jefferson, I mean, he's still going to just take the tops off defense. If you like Tutu, go out and get Tutu. More than likely, it's going to turn into how teams deal with Puka and Cup as Tutu and Jefferson just go vertical. And it's go buy your pieces. We'll talk about Higbee later on. The biggest guy to be looking at after waivers clear is A-Rob, Allen Robinson with Pittsburgh. Deontay's down with a hamstring, they say, for a few weeks. I haven't watched this game yet. I did watch Allen Robinson last year when with the Rams. He wasn't cooked. That was a schematic thing. Allen Robinson was in on 89% of snaps. Regardless of what was going on with Deontay Johnson, that's 89% of snaps. I believe he outsnapped Pickens. So, like, just from that number, he was 5 of 8 when it comes to targets to receptions. Like, that's just volume. Again, the king of fantasy football is opportunity. That's opportunity right there. So, like, that's the guy. If he should make it through waivers, it'll cost you nothing to put him on the bottom of your bench. He's probably flex worthy as is for free. That's the biggest thing about fantasy football, for free. So the other guy I don't need to tell you about is Nico Collins. He was 70% snaps on a bad Houston offense. For clarification, Robert Woods was at 75% snaps. Collins is the more dynamic guy out of the two. That's not a good offense. Avoid bad offenses. Take good offenses. The Steelers are probably going to be better than the Texans. So let's go on from there. The Baltimore wide receivers, if you're wondering, OBJ was at 92% snaps. Bateman was only at 39. Flowers was at 84, and they were using Flowers in a gimmicky role. We don't know what that offense is going to be, partly because Mark Andrews was out. And then now with Dobbins out, the running back situation, I don't know, but those are just the numbers for you. If you're wondering about Jackson Smith and Najigma, I should move over to wide receivers instead of just you guys staring at a blank screen. He was at 59% snaps compared to Lockett and Metcalf at 88 and 94. Seahawks did not play particularly well. So yeah, like there's not a lot to take out of that other than 59% snaps is kind of what we expected. The other guy, Charbonnet, if you were wondering, he was at like 21% snaps for the Seahawks. Not used too much. I think DJ Dallas was actually used in their receiving work. He was at 21% snaps or something like that. Anyway, moving on. The guy, Burks, was 90% of snaps for the Titans. Westbrook-Akine was 81% of snaps, and Hopkins was 78. Like, what's that mean? I'm going to guess that like the offense is going to change, and Derrick Henry, if we're planning ahead, may be gone, and they're going to go with Malik or Levis at this rate. That's what the tea leaves are saying. So, like, guys that are going to slip through your waiver wires this week, the Titans wide receivers, Burks, if he's available, he may not be available. And Akine outsnapped Hopkins. That may be a run blocking thing, but from what I remember, Hopkins is a good run blocker. Who knows? We'll get to Chig later. Kendrick Bourne with the Patriots, 91% snaps. That's encouraging. We don't really know what the offense is going to be. I heard that Kendrick Bourne, they're just attacking the seams. Hey, if you like Kendrick Bourne and he slips, like, more power to you. Dobbs was only in on 48% of snaps with the Packers. On a snap share or time share or time a snap. He was limited by snaps because of a hamstring. Contested catch guy in the red area. He's probably going to be the number 2 or number 3 in that Packers offense. So, like, there you go. If you're curious about picking him up, Jacoby Myers in the concussion protocol with the Raiders, 80% snap share, 10 targets. It's a guy to like. If that's the way the offense is going to run, probably like wide receiver 3 with a ceiling wide receiver 2. Mingo and Marshall with the Panthers. Yeah, these are the guys to be stashing at the bottom of your bench. So you had 5 and 6 targets apiece. DJ Chark was out 87% snap to and 90% snap compared to Hayden Hurst going at 53. Thielen was really not a factor, but he still had a high snap share. But yeah, like these are the two guys that are going to be able to go downfield and run. They're young. Like stick those guys on the bottom of your bench and see how that Carolina offense works out. Rashid Shaheed there for the Saints was at 54%. You still have Michael Thomas, you still have Olave, you still have Jawan Johnson that we're going to get to in a second. But like these are guys that you can just throw on the bottom of your bench, see how they shake out. You know, if you're curious about Josh Reynolds, he was only at 70%. He's probably going to end up being fourth in the pecking order. There's better lottery tickets. Really bad game for the Giants. Hodgins and Wyatt were just kind of non-factors, but they're guys to stash. I think Hyatt was only in at like 30% snaps. I didn't write this down. Hodgins was only in at like 64% snaps. The guy there running the routes in that bad debacle was Paris Campbell. Michael Wilson, definitely a stash, even though I will say avoid the Cardinals offense. I believe Michael Wilson was at like 90% snaps for a rookie, even in that debacle. Like that's 90%, 4 targets. Yes, please stick him on the bottom of your bench. Moving on, tight end, top guy. I already talked about him before. Hunter Henry, 79% snaps. 5 of 6. That's the top guy if you're looking. Kincaid was at 80% snaps. Musgrave was at 75% snaps. Those are the guys that I would say are the priorities if you need tight end. Those are the guys. We move on from that. Like Chig was actually at 83% snaps for the Titans. Why that's a big deal? Again, if the offense is changing, I was expecting him to be more at 50% snaps. He's at 83% snaps. That's awesome. Now we want to see the targets go along with that, but that's definitely a stash. Jawan Johnson gave you what you thought you were going to get out of him this week. He's probably going to be like the 2, the 3, sometimes the 4. When you have that many guys, it's going to be really hard to figure it out. But he was at 75% snaps. That's all you care about right now, 75% snaps. So if we're buying pieces of good offenses, Tyler Higbee was at 91% snaps. So if he's available, that's a guy like I would say he's sub to Henry, Kincaid, Musgrave this week, but 91% snaps is nothing to shake a stick at. Next, we have Laporta. He was actually in at 83% snaps. I do think he's always going to be like at best with Jameson and Gibbs. Like maybe he could get into that number 3 role there. But 83% snaps is good for a rookie. Dalton Schultz was at 81% snaps for bad Texans offense, but 81% is still 81%. Hurst, like I said, was only at 63 or 53% snaps. So this is a guy that we're like, he could lead the Panthers in targets. I don't think he is if he's only going to be at 53% snaps. Troutman for Denver was in at 72% snaps. We usually don't want good or bad offenses, but 72% snaps with Dulcich going out. That's if you're deeper leagues, you need a flyer. Troutman had some buzz when he was with the Saints, 72% snaps. Targets have to go someplace. Hey, that's deeper leagues. Ferguson, I have written down for the Cowboys was at 72% snaps. It's hard to get a gauge on what anything's going to look like after the mauling that the Cowboys put on the Giants. Noah Gray for the Chiefs. If you're wondering if you got to roll this weekend, I think there's better options. He was in at 88% snaps for the Chiefs. So with a week to go, if Kelsey's out, they're probably going to rely on him, and he's going to get the snaps. So there are worse flyers to take than Noah Gray. And then other guys to kind of talk about, like Trey McBride with the Cardinals. Zach Ertz, is back. He did 77%. Not very efficient to McBride, who's 37%. McBride has the athletic stuff that we like, but that offense is bad. He's not getting the snaps. But I'm going to come back to this probably next week. I want to see the snap share go up. Snap share starts going up. When teams have to make business decisions about their future, that's when they start giving guys opportunities. And I don't care how that stuff works out from a football standpoint. I care about if it turns into points. From a fantasy perspective. So just keeping aware of the 37% snaps for McBride. Now I want to see that go up. I want to see Ertz go down. and I want to see targets going to McBride because he's a better football player than the guys that they already have on the field. Or excuse, maybe not a better football player. He's a better athlete. If you're wondering about Michael Mayer, he was at 48% snaps, got outsnapped by Austin Hooper. I did not write down Austin Hooper's snap share. And then the big guy, if you're looking to trade this week, it's Michael Pittman. He went I'll pull him up if you're wondering, as I made you guys just stare at a screen. The biggest guy, Michael Pittman, was like 8 of 11. I did watch the breakdown on him. He didn't get a vertical target. It was a screen. That was what the touchdown went to. But Anthony Richardson is what we thought he was going to be. He's going to throw volume to Michael Pittman. So if there's a buy, it's Michael Pittman because, 8 of 11, that's borderline wide receiver 1 range, if not like good wide receiver 2 range. That's probably going to stay consistent because that looks like what the offense is going to be. That's the guy to try and buy low on. And then, right next to him, we have Puka. So again, what I am thinking this week is I'm definitely liking Puka. If you haven't got him yet, I would say, I'm going to spend on him. I'm spending on Gainwell to block. I'm probably going to spend on Kyron Williams to block. I'm definitely hoping that Spears gets through waivers. If not, I will put a small bid on him if I miss on the other guys. I'm looking for some of these guys that should be already rostered. I'm going to take those other guys as priorities over these guys. And then wide receiver, if I can't get Nico Collins, A-Rob's going to be there. And some of the other guys, the Carolina wide receivers are interesting stashes. There should be a whole bunch of wide or tight ends on your wire that you can let slip through and pick up if you can't get your Henrys or Kincaid and your Musgrave. Someone drops Chig. 83% snaps is awesome. Quarterback, if you have to worry about Aaron Rodgers going down, like Stafford, Purdy, Pickett, Mac Jones, they're all fine. I haven't looked at some of the scheduling stuff other than the fact that I said Zach Wilson isn't going to have to play very many hard defenses, and then he goes and plays the Cowboys next. So that's a yikes. But anyway, it's been 32 minutes. Hopefully I walked you all through this. Make your own decisions. I'm not here to tell you what to do. This is just my thought process about what's going on. And we'll see how many of these pay off next week.